So in the Gospel of Mark, Mark is seen, if you remember the images on this ambo right here, they're covered over right now, but Mark is the lion image. And whenever we see something from Mark, it's showing Jesus as someone who's on the move, someone who is a man of action, someone who is showing us who he is by what he does. And so we see here all these people are seeing what Jesus is doing. They're all coming, and they're coming not just from Jerusalem, but they're coming from places that are outside of really the Jewish realm. These areas of Tyre and Sidon. And so it's also showing that people who were even not necessarily Jewish were also saying there's something about this man Jesus. So it's showing that Jesus is coming for everyone. Now, that's such intensity. People are coming that he says, okay, disciples, I need a boat so I can be out there to talk to them, or else they're going to crush me. If you've ever been in like super large crowds, people get excited, and all of a sudden you're just like, wow, there's just way too many people here. I know this experience, and it's very, very true. And it says that this is because he's cured many people. And then there were all these other people saying, come, save us, help us. And he's even casting out these unclean spirits. And they would shout, you are the Son of God. But then it says he warned them sternly not to make him known. And that's always something that maybe puzzles people, because you see there Jesus saying, don't tell them who I am. But also you see this in other places. Remember the person who was sick with leprosy? And Jesus says, don't tell anyone what happened, but just go show yourself to the priest, and that'll be enough. So there's all these times, there's dozens of times in which Jesus is always saying, don't tell them what happened. Just say that you were healed. God healed you. You might wonder, well, why is that? Why is there sort of this like secret? Didn't Jesus come to like tell people who he was? He wants to tell people who he is, but in his own time, in his own way. We hear in the Gospel of John, it talks about the hour of the Lord. The Lord saying, like, this is the right time for me to show you who I am. And you can think of it like this. If you think of it in terms of there are certain things in life that if we just get the answer right away, and we don't go through a process, then we actually don't really get to understand what we just learned as the answer. Think about math problems. Do you remember that experience of sometimes in the back of a book, it has all the math answers right there? And how big of a temptation for kids to be like, okay, and they put those things there. And I remember doing that before, but the thing that you lose out in that kind of situation is you don't actually go through the math problem. And so when you get to the test, and all of a sudden it's a new problem, you haven't really exercised your brain to know how to logically think to get to that answer. You just kind of are being spoon-fed before, and so when it really comes down to the test, you fail because you, in a sense, get the answer very quickly without going through a process that allows you to discover why that's the answer. It's the same thing with a story. You think of how stories have the ability to change us. If it's a good story, we can go through the story, we can enter into it, and then we come out a different person. You know, sometimes when I read these beautiful fairy tales, just majestic and mysterious, and I remember finishing and then looking at the world a little more brighter. It seems like the colors were more radiant. You actually see the characters in the story, the wind and the willows. They hear this music, or they hear this story or this poem, and it says that then they started to look at their surroundings and realize the colors were brighter than they were before. So there's a way in which going through a story, going through a poem, going through a song, it changes us on the other side. And the story of Christ, he's a living story. He's showing us who he is, but he doesn't want to give it to us all at the very end. Or he doesn't want to give everything and just say, okay, here's everything here. In a way, he does by saying, here's the end of the story, that good triumphs over evil. But he doesn't necessarily give you everything just like that. He doesn't want to spoon feed you, because he knows that you need to go through that story as well in order for you to be changed, so that your heart actually gets reworked to be a follower of Christ. Notice how Jesus doesn't say everything about him, that he is the Son of God, that he is the second person of the Holy Trinity, all these different things to his disciples right away. He says, come follow me. Come and find what you're really looking for. And he spends 3 years with them. And they still don't fully get him until the resurrection. So that's what the Lord wants to do with us. And you might say, Lord, just tell me everything right now. Tell me everything that I need to know. Tell me everything that I have to do. Just write it down for me. It'll be so much more easier for me, because then I don't have to worry about this or this. I just do this, and then I get to heaven. And the Lord says, well, it's not exactly like that, because there's trust. And if I just give you everything, every single step, then you miss entering into the adventure, into the love relationship with God, and you only have a partial answer at the end because you didn't go through the process to have yourself transformed. And so if you were to just jump to the end, you wouldn't necessarily experience the truth of what you're hearing. The truth that Jesus Christ is Lord. You might hear that in your mind and say, okay, I understand that, but you haven't really experienced it. So then you just kind of take it and say, well, that's nice. Well, what's next? So there's a blessing in the Lord giving us exactly what we need. That's where the phrase, give us this day our daily bread. Give me what I need for today. Let me not worry about what you have for me tomorrow or the next day or so, but how do I live for you today? How do I discover who you are through the events that you're allowing in my life? That's what Jesus is getting at here when he's not making himself known all at once. He wants us to truly follow him and to become changed through the process of getting to know Jesus.